Station's Radio Caroline will be back on the air this week after 3.5 years of silence. The old Caroline began broadcasting illegally off the coast of Clacton in 1964, and at its peak built up an audience of 30 million before it sank in a storm. The new Caroline will have to compete with at least 50 land-based pirate radio stations, but it's back as a confident it'll be as popular as ever. John Underwood reports.
The journey out to the new Radio Caroline takes you right past the old Radio Caroline, or what's left of it anyway. The last pirate radio ship sank into silence during a severe gale in 1980. But for the station's founder, entrepreneur Ronan O'Reilly, that last broadcast was simply the spur to start all over again.
Well, we're sorry to tell you that due to the severe weather conditions and also to the fact that we're shipping quite a lot of water, we're closing down, and the crew are at this stage leaving this ship.
Today, Ronan O'Reilly is back in business, and Radio Caroline has quite literally resurfaced with a new ship anchored in international waters. The radio station will soon be broadcasting from this gigantic 300-foot mast, the tallest aerial ever built on a floating vessel. With the station pumping out rock music at 50,000 watts, Caroline's signal will be as clear as its message.
Well, the point behind it, have you listened to the radio in Britain lately? That's the point behind it. We're doing what no one else is doing. We're going to be playing a lot of music and very little chat, which isn't difficult to do, really. What people want to listen in radio isn't there. There is a radio market and a radio feel that isn't there at the moment. I mean, who wants to listen to inane chat? When people spend thousands of pounds, dollars, whatever, making good music with the technical expertise that's available, do you need it broken up with chat? Oh, I certainly don't.
The Marine Broadcasting Offences Act, which came into effect 16 years ago this week, tried to make it illegal to broadcast from radio ships like this. Anyone found repairing, supplying, installing, maintaining radio equipment like this is liable to prosecution. But only if they're operating from Britain. Ronan O'Reilly is getting all the food and equipment for his radio station from Europe. But the threat of legal action remains for anyone committing a whole host of offences that might generally be described as aiding and abetting these pirate broadcasters.
You know, we supply from Spain, and, you know, we have international advertising. Our head office is in Los Angeles and New York, and the station is run in strict compliance with all of the local legislations in the various European countries.
Now, since the introduction of independent local radio in the UK, of course, people have been able to advertise on British radio. Doesn't that mean that there's less of a need for stations like Radio Caroline?
Well, of course, the beauty of Caroline is that it's totally a relationship between this station and the audience, and the audience is the absolute enthusiastic about using us.
Listening to Radio Caroline on 319.
The sound of Radio Caroline will be unashamedly of the 60s and early 70s. Its philosophy, they say, will be one of loving awareness. If loving awareness proves popular, the audience will be measured in millions, and Radio Caroline's American backers will be laughing all the way to the Dogger Bank.
Studio to chat about the relaunch. Morning, Tony.
Morning.
Well,
nice to be back again.
Nice
yeah,
to see
very
you.
well. Well, moderately well. I was at the 60s revival last night.
Really?
Which went on till about, well, it was meant to finish at 1, and I was there till 3, and I can't work out why I was there till 3.
Oh, I see. Well, I'll give you a chance to wake up then, because we're going to show some pictures now, because Roy Ackerman took a look at the pirate radio station, which refuses to die.
Radio Caroline's new ship, the Imagine, named after a John Lennon song, lies 28 miles off Margate in the English Channel, but it remains silent. Last weekend, a few test signals, but since then, not a whisper. Still, they're confident of being back on the air, as well as the sea, tomorrow. So pop fans are still waiting for the pirate broadcast, but none of it conjures up the same thrill as the pioneering service set up in 1964 by Irish businessman Ronan O'Reilly.
This is Radio Caroline on 199.
Then, Radio Caroline illegally entertained as many as 20 million a week, with a solid diet of top 40 hits. With young DJs like Kenny Everett and Tony Blackburn, it was a symbol of the rebellious 60s. The Home Office didn't like it at all. In 1967, they pushed Caroline into deep water by bringing in the Marine Broadcasting Offences Act, which made it illegal for anyone in Britain to advertise with, work for, or supply offshore stations. One woman was actually fined £500 for taking food to the boat. In '68, financial trouble struck Caroline, and their boat had to be towed away. Caroline started again in the early 70s and stayed on air until the boat sunk off the Essex shoreline in 1980. Financial and legal problems have delayed the relaunch until now. To get round the law, it's serviced and supplied from Spain, and O'Reilly's bought a brand new ship with a 300-foot mast, the largest of its kind in the world. But it's not going to be plain sailing. The signals they transmit could be jammed by the Department of Trade and Industry, although no one at the department would say what action they'd take over Caroline's illegal broadcasting. What's sure is that Caroline will face stiffer competition now from onshore radio, commercial and BBC, which has come a long way since Caroline made it seem hopelessly out of date in the 60s. O'Reilly promises lots of music and a little educated chat. He's confident of making a profit, but an educated guess is that the future on the airwaves is going to be choppy.
What do you think about it then, Tony, seeing it going back on the air again?
I think it's wonderful to have it back again. I think it is going to be more difficult for Radio Caroline because radio's advanced more now. Because we've got, it's access radio now. I mean, the show I'm about to do at 9 o'clock on, dare I say it, Radio London.
Yes.
We invite the people to take part.
Yes.
I don't like the idea of this educated chat, but I was talking to Ronan last night, and I don't really think... Radio Caroline...
He's the guy who's sort of behind it all the way through from the beginning, yeah.
That's right, lovely man. But Radio Caroline is really a pirate, and they still don't really know what they're going to do yet. So I think they're going to play a lot of album tracks and things.
Yes.
But it's nice to have the competition. It's a shame that it has to be there. And the reason why it's coming back is because the fight now is to break the monopoly of commercial radio in a way, because when you only have one station in a big place like London or Birmingham, there is room for more, as in America. So I think it'll do well. But it's tougher for it, I think. But it's lovely to have it back again.
What was it like, actually, living on the ocean wave for long periods and doing radio programmes?
I loved it. You know, in those days, you see, once again, I think when the Marine Offences Bill went through, it all changed a bit. But in those days, we really were trying to break the BBC monopoly, which we did. You know, I mean, we really did get rid of Mrs. Dale's Diary.
Yes,
But, I mean, it was good fun. It was a lovely start. And, I mean, the reason why I was there last night, I owe everything to Radio Caroline. And it was just great fun out there. But
Didn't you get bored?
I don't think it will be the same now. No, in the summer it was wonderful because we used to have all the little boats coming out from Printon, Lady Kent and things like that, and they all used to throw us presents. And it was a wonderful pioneering time. You know, we really did believe what we were doing.
Did you think you were breaking the law?
No.
Because, I mean, I presume you weren't at that stage, but you were about to. I mean, the government didn't like you, but you weren't officially breaking the law.
I'm breaking the law. I mean, it's there to be broken. I mean, as long as it doesn't do anybody any harm, and as long as it provides fun and entertainment, I think it doesn't do any harm. And I think there was talk about the government jamming Radio Caroline.
Yes.
No, they shouldn't do that. They mustn't do that because they don't jam Radio Moscow. And Radio Caroline is going to provide entertainment for everybody. And it is in international waters as well, so it's not. It is actually a foreign station, like Radio Luxembourg, for instance. And that broadcasts on very high power. But I mean, I think it's fun. You know, I think it's the British spirit to do things that are slightly...
He seemed to give more airtime to archaeology. There was Radio Luxembourg, of course, for people who liked crackling with their music. Ronan O'Reilly decided to take positive action.
In the United Kingdom in '64 period, the only popular music that you had here was every sort of Sunday afternoon, daytime music. Every Sunday afternoon, Alan Freeman did a 2-hour show. And I remember everybody sort of rushing to hear Alan at sometime on a Sunday afternoon. That was the sort of state of the industry at the time.
Piracy. That's what's happening here, with the connivance of almost every teenager in southeast England at any rate.
The pirate stations had discovered that if you kept to the high seas, the Wireless Telegraphy Act couldn't touch you. Caroline was the first, but others followed. Radio London, Radio Invicta, Radio City. The government gnashed its teeth in frustration. The Postmaster General, Tony Benn, said they were a danger to shipping. In 1967, a new law meant that advertisers who supported the pirates could be imprisoned. The pirate boom was over. But it had established a huge market for non-stop pop radio. And for the likes of Simon D and Tony Blackburn, the only sentence was wonderful Radio 1.
There's just a 10-kilowatt transmitter pumping the music out, but millions of kids have learnt to say, I love Caroline on 199, and they lap it up from 6 in the morning until 8 o'clock at night. The disc jockeys have got themselves fan clubs out of the job that the Postmaster General is trying to stop.
Now a request number. Yes, it's the Small Faces, requested by Miss Gay Jenkins of 205 Deaconshill Road, London, SW5. Thanks for your very sweet letter, Gay, and I think the picture was great, just great. Since Kenny agrees with me. So your favorite disc with love from the Small Faces and me, I got mine.
Dad, it's my request. I asked for it from download it. Oh, isn't it lovely?
Sure. Let's hear it.
I heard that. What's all this about sending him a photograph and a letter? Oh, Mum, it's fab. Oh, he spoke to me. Please play my record. Oh, listen.
DJs were becoming heroes, youth, and music was
Return to work. Ray Allen is our morning guest, and Popeye opens his spinach. But right now it's news time, and Gordon Honeycomb.
Good morning. First, the Monday morning headlines. The superpowers together, the arms talks get underway. Princess Margaret's children fly to her London hospital. And Radio Caroline's all at sea once again. The pirate radio ship Radio Caroline is adrift in the North Sea this morning as Arctic snow and gales lash southern Britain. Chris Fletcher reports.
Radio Caroline broke free from her anchorage in the North Sea late last night, 5 years after gales scuppered her first ship. But as before, she continued to broadcast. Further north, lifeboats were launched to aid an ailing ferry after her engines failed. The Speedlink Vanguard later docked at Harwich under her own steam. 2 years ago, she was in collision with Townsend Torreson's European Gateway near Harwich. 6 people...
Radio ship Radio Caroline is back at anchor in the North Sea after spending the night adrift in gales. Further north, lifeboats were launched to aid an ailing ferry.